So with FM24 out now on PC and on console, I thought we'd have a look at the main differences between the two versions. Quite a lot of you had questions around what the difference between the console version and the PC version is. Some of you are saying that the console version is nowhere near the PC version. I think it's pretty close personally, but let's go have a look and see what is missing from the console version, what is actually added, because there are some things in the console version that we also don't get in the PC version. Now, the best place for us to start, and I will link to this down in the description below, is the game differences that Sports Interactive provide themselves. Also for the touch version, and you can switch here between arcade and Switch. So we'll put it on the Switch because it's sort of similar to the console one. But this will set out what some of the differences are. I am going to show you the differences in the game, but just to show you what they are right here, you can see the platforms. Now, interestingly here, Xbox PC is available for the console version. They go Windows. So you buy the Windows version, you can actually play the console version. We'll come back to that shortly. But so the PC, you get your Mac version, your Epic Games version, your Steam version. Actually, it doesn't show Mac. No, it does say Mac there. But yeah, because it's via Steam, via Epic Games, or via Windows, or via Xbox Game Pass PC. And then console, you can get through it via Xbox Game Pass console. Obviously, if you have gold, you get both of them. It's also on PS5, and you can do the Windows one there. Netflix games is for the mobile version this year, and touch, you can get Apple Arcade or you can get Switch. So the speed, in terms of speeds, actually the console version is quicker than the PC version, but the PC version is probably down to how much and what you chuck in. If you chuck lots and lots of stuff in, your PC is going to be slower. If you chuck less in, your PC is going to be quicker. But generally, the console version is quicker. There is less game detail in the console version. We'll show some of this off in the actual game. In terms of modes, you'll notice actually the console version has an extra mode, which is the challenge mode. We will show that in a little bit. Online modes on the console, it's not FMFC exclusive as it is on the PC for versus mode, but otherwise it's all there. Online network play between Steam, Epic, and Microsoft on the PC. On the console, actually it's cross-play now between Xbox and PlayStation 5, and you can also play anywhere between Xbox consoles and the Windows 10 console version. Save game compatibility, you can transfer over from FM23 to FM24 on both of these. Cross sync between Epic and Steam for your saves. Xbox as well, you can do. PlayStation you can't do, unfortunately. Playable nations, exactly the same number, 55. Playable leagues, 124, exactly the same. Number of loadable nations, up to 10 on the console, unlimited on the PC. Now, you can do unlimited on the PC. I wouldn't recommend you load loads on the PC because it's going to slow your PC down unless you've got an absolute beast. Same with the number of loadable players, it's going to be less because it's limited by those 10 leagues, whereas on the PC it essentially is an unlimited, which is around 500,000 players, but you're going to have a very, very slow game if you try and load that up. The match engine is identical as far as I can tell. The console version runs the PC match engine, the 3D match engine. You don't get that 3D match engine in the mobile version, for example, so that console one is running the same, and the engine detail is just slightly knocked down on the graphics setting, but not by much. Now, these are where maybe some of the bigger changes are. There is no pre-game editor for the console version, and there's no in-game editor for the console version. So you can't change the databases. You can't add in actually something that it sort of doesn't fit in with the editor, but it's there and there around. You can't do real name changes. You can't do the logo packs. Now, obviously, there are a number of licensed teams, which you can see, and I'll link that down in the description below. That's the same on PC as it is on console. Exactly the same number of licensed teams and licensed players. The difference is on PC is that you can go into those files and change them, whereas you can't on console. It's obviously locked down on the console version. But on console, you do get these optional game DLCs, which I will show to you. They do cost a little bit of money, but you can also unlock most of them through just playing the game. So instead of having the pre-game editor, some of the things you might want to do, you'll be able to do via those optional game DLCs instead. In terms of the core features, and I think that's what we're mainly going to look at in this video, you'll see here, you know, unlimited game slots, unlimited career, in-depth scouting, tactical control, etc. 30 season limit on the console version, but you do get things like instant match result that is available on PC, but you have to use a skin. It's a bit more streamlined, some of the responsibilities, but most of those, I think most of those responsibilities are stuff that people delegate anyway. The only other thing is that there is no demo also for the console version, but those are the closest that we can get. So yeah, here we go. Oh, if you do cross save between the PC to Android, oh, you can do, so yeah, if you're doing the PC to Android Mac cross save, wait, the PC to Android iPad cross save, is that with the touch version? What version is that with then? Because you can't get the on the mobile. I wonder what this is referring to. Cross save functionality from PC, Mac to Android, iPad, but the Android is only available for mobile, but there's no cross sync for unless they're just sort of referring to the touch version and they've just not removed the word Android here. But yes, anyway, so that's limited to 3 leagues if you do the cross save. So I've got the console version loaded up here. This is the version you would play on an Xbox or on a PlayStation. I am actually going to show you this differently in a second, but I just want to show you quickly one of the things that, of course, is going to be different if you decide to play this on a PlayStation or console, is the fact that you'll be using a controller. Actually, this is a Stadia controller, probably more likely one of these. You can't buy the game on Stadia anymore, but I'm just using this old Stadia controller to go between the, you're going to use it. You can click in the left stick and you can use a little mouse as well if you like. But generally, this is the interface that you'll be using. And once you're in the game, if I load into this Brighton game, for example, you'll see everything, all the controls are around. You can see moving forward, right trigger to move forward. So that's the sort of thing that you are navigating with in the console version on a PlayStation or Xbox. So just bear in mind, what I'm going to show you is going to look slightly different than what you will see on the console version, but feature-wise, it is the same, because what I'm going to show you is a secret version of Football Manager that most people don't know exists, and it is this. This is the console version, just while it loads up, of the game, but running via Xbox Game Pass PC directly on a PC, and it is going to look much more like the PC version. So you will notice when we get into this does not look like the version that you would be used to if you load up on a PlayStation or Xbox. I'm clicking, I'm using the mouse, keyboard, and it loads in. Obviously, this screen is very similar, but once we get into the game, if I load up this save, you will see this looks very close to the PC version in terms of the layout on the left here across the top, the way in which you've got the inbox, the way it is laid out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to show you the game and compare it. And I've also got loaded here the PC version, the standard PC version of Football Manager 2024. So this is the standard PC version. If you want to know which one I'm looking at any time, I've got Man City on the standard PC version, and I have got Brighton open. No, I've got Man City open on that one, so that doesn't help you at all. So I've loaded up Man City on both. If you're not sure which one I'm looking at any one point, you'll notice that the color schemes are ever so slightly different. So this darker blue one is the console version, and then with this sort of gray, I guess, is the PC version. So I guess the best place to start would be on this start screen to see what the modes and functions available are. Career, this would be the same. So if you start a new game, you would choose your club, and you can have, I got an achievement for that. I don't know why I've just got that one, but you would get, let's have a look. You could choose, let's say we choose Manchester City. It's going to ask us original, real world, and your world. So that is in the console version of the game. One thing you'll notice is if you do the tutorial, it's not going to give you this option for your first save. So if you want this option, don't tell the game that you're familiar with Football Manager, or start a new save afterwards, and then go in and choose which one of these 3 options that you want. So this is the same on PC. You can press advanced setup just the same as you can on PC, but you're gonna have a few less options. You can only have 10 active nations, but you can choose, you have the same nations and leagues available to you. There are some extra options here: the start date, first window transfer, and attribute masking. So you don't get as many options as on the PC. I'll just show that to you on the PC. So on PC, this would be how I'd start a new game. I would choose career. I would choose the database that I want. Now, of course, because I'm on PC, I can add in things like the sort out SI real name fixes. Choose the game mode. We're going to go original into the advanced setup. Now here I get a lot more options. I get things like use fake players and staff. I get to do not use real fixtures, add players to playable teams, prevent control of teams with managers in place. But most of this stuff, prevent use of in-game editor. The in-game editor is not on the console, but most of this stuff you probably, most people don't touch most of these. I can change the player database size, which I can't do on the other one, but everything else is pretty much the same. I can add viewable nations also on the PC, which I can't do on the console version, but for the most part, it's pretty similar here. So back at this start screen, the other options we have is create a club. That is on both. We have challenge. This is a console exclusive. So if you want to do challenges, they are only on the console version. You can choose any of these challenges. They're quite fun to try and do. Of course, you could try and set them up on the PC version, but things like injury crisis or the savior come off you in relegation battle, can you take your team to safety? You can set the difficulty on these as well, which is basically going to be how many points you need to get in order to do it. So let's say you want to do a hard savior cometh, it'll be like you've only got 10 points. You basically have to win every game left in the season to avoid relegation. Top division underdog, financial storm. So you have a load of different, reducing the club's debt and wage. That's actually kind of fun to do. So a load of different challenge modes that you can do, and it will load you into the scenario with the team that you choose. So these are only in the console version, and I think in the touch version as well, but they're not in the PC version. And then if we go to the online modes, again, an online career, it's the same as on PC. Fantasy draft is there as well, and versus mode. So those modes are all the same across both, obviously with the same restrictions that they have inside the modes themselves. So let's load back into those Man City saves. You can see along the left here, there are less options there on the console version. So if we go across to the console version here, down this left-hand side, there are less things for us to engage with. So what we'll do, we'll go through these and have a look at how they compare between the two versions. So it is the console version, but it's the console version running on PC. So we'll start here. So on the home screen, of course, you'll see here that we have, for the most part, exactly the same. You can see on the PC version, we have a few extra tabs than we do on the console version here. You know, the console version has just got four columns. On the PC version, you can see actually the finances are showing beneath my head. On the PC version, if I show you the PC version, it shows exactly the same thing as the finances there. It's just lower down because there are more columns on the, you know, you get I got 8 panels loaded on the PC version, whereas I've only got the 4 on the console one. But that's just a, you know, a visual thing. All that information is still there. In fact, one thing's behind my head on the PC version is the training, but that's fine. You can probably put that in on the console version, I'd imagine. Yeah, you can put that in if you wanted, and you can add the training in. And you can see here we've got the manager profile, and on the manager profile I'm going to get my attributes, my favorite tactics, my career stats, all these kind of things which I don't actually have any yet. You can resign, you can retire. It's got a little bit of the history. Also here in the manager timeline, this is the same both versions. You have the manager timeline. You have your history, so you can see all this data that you have. You have promises that you've made to player, and you can see your contract details as well. So you can see here on the PC version. So here on the PC version, go into my profile. You can see pretty much the same information, maybe laid out slightly different, scouting knowledge a little bit more. And I think there's a few more characteristics and attributes, but other than that, it's very, very close. The promises, again, we don't have any yet, but we'll look at those when they come in. Targets are new. Player targets are only in the PC version. That's something that we have in the PC version. That's a new feature for this year. Relationships we don't have in the console version. You have your history, your job history, your manager timeline, which we just looked at, and a little biography as well you get on the PC version. And you have your notebook where you can make any notes. So that's something else that is missing from the console one. You know, small things that are not there. You know, also options like keep history after retirement. Back on the console version, this is your inbox. Obviously, this looks the same. Your social feed, where you get a load of, like, I don't know, social network news, people tweeting bits of news as well. It's a condensed version on the console, so you don't get loads of news, but you get a fair amount still. Match reviews, weekly news, etc., and transfer news tab as well. Let's have a look at that section on the PC. So you go inbox, the same. There's your social feed, your news. You can see you get a little bit more on the news on the PC. You also get a leagues in focus tab. So if you ever wanted to go see the top leagues, you can go have a look and just check them. They give little headlines for each of those. And the same with an around the world, which gives you a little bit more from different things happening in different locations. I don't know many people who actually look at these screens. Transfer news is the same. Actually, there aren't any on this one with the console. Oh, there they are. They just took a while to load up. Onto the squad, and this is where you start. Onto the squad, and this is where you might start to see more noticeable differences. Obviously, this is my squad, and it's just the overview. I can quick pick it from my assistant manager. You can pick from unpicked, rotated, youth prospects, or pick entire team. You can save that team selection as well. And you've got all your drop downs here, reports, etc. There aren't as many here as there are on the PC, but most of them there. You can drop down and get the attributes. We can go to the medical center. And the medical center is on the left on its own tab on the PC. This is just going to tell you who is injured on this version. We have the squad depth report. So instead of the squad planner, you've just got the squad depth report that tells you what your depth is in each position. An assistant report that tells you who your best players are and your best 11 and where you're lacking, maybe where you need extra players, which is kind of handy. Your stats, which we don't have yet, but it's a more streamlined version of stats. There is still the data hub, by the way. So the data hub is there. We won't get that till 3 games into the season, but it's there. And you can compare how you compare to other teams in the league. Players on international duty and squad numbering. So something you're going to notice, and if I go across to that PC version, you will see it, is we're now on the PC version. So we've got overview, numbers, registration. So squad registration. So for example, for Manchester City, I have to register for the Premier League and the Champions League. Actually, the training camp you can register for as well. So you have to register and meet the registration requirements. That's one small element that's not on the console version, more streamlined, runs quicker, plays through quicker. You don't have to mess around with things like this. But if you want that extra level of realism, the squad registration is only in that PC version. Again, you can see you can set also these international instructions, which we didn't have on the console version. Now you'll notice things like the medical center aren't there because the medical center is here in its own segment, tells you the injuries, the risk. You also get a risk assessment, current injuries, injury history, and a summary of the injuries over the season. So there's a little bit extra info data here in the medical center for your players. Also, the other one is the squad planner here, which I need to create a tactic for first. Let's just make one quickly. There we go, that'll do. So we have our, let's go back to it. We have our squad planner here, which we don't have on the console, so we can choose and plan out our players for each and every position. They've improved this a little bit this year in the regular version. We have the experience matrix, which tells us the development, emerging, peak, and experienced players. And we have the best 11 report based on the assistant manager. Actually, I quite like the display of this, which is more similar to what you used to get on the console. And the assistants report as well, which gives you a lot more data than it does on the console one. It tells you a whole load of it. The console one, it sure tells you where you're lacking, where you need to improve. This one is not really telling you positions, but it's more telling you sort of where you might want to, you know, where's the weight. Let's say there's weakness in the first team. It doesn't tell me there's a weakness in goalkeeper, which was interesting. It did on the console one. There's that same stat screen, but again, we have the data hub down here and the same comparison screen. Dynamics. I'm back on the console version now. Now, this is different. This is something that they have changed in the console version and works very differently. So one of the things you do now, you set your mindset and your philosophy when you set up your console version of the game. And I quite like this. So I can't remember what we set ours as. I think, does it say here? Is it these ones? It says here, right? Thinker, relaxed. No, this is the different kinds. I don't remember where the philosophy is shown. Maybe in the club vision. Where does it show me the philosophy? Sorry, they're right here in front of my face. Consistency, resilience, intelligence. And here you've got player buy-in. So how much players are buying into those principles, into that club philosophy that you are setting. Sorry, they're principles, not philosophy. So you can see here, these are the ones that I've set. You can actually change them by the looks of it. I don't know how often you can change them. Oh, you can only change them. Looks like I have to wait until 3 months, 4 months. You can only change them so often. This is not in the PC version at all. It sort of says how the affinity is with your club as well and how much these players are buying in. So you can see Bernardo Silva is not really buying in. Julian Alvarez is totally on board with this. In terms of the mindsets as well, this is new. So you'll see we have our leaders and what kind of players those leaders are. So some of them are thinkers, some of them are hard workers, some of them are relaxed. We also have our mindset. So these are our leaders. We only have one leader. It's Kyle Walker. Some clubs might have more, but we also have our thinkers, our relaxed players, and our hard workers, and how that fits with the mindset balance as well. And it gives you a little bit of information at the bottom about how these players are going to play within your team. This is something completely different to on the console version. Now, this hierarchy is of course there in the console version, in the PC version, but does look slightly different. They tell you which leaders. We have actually Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne are leaders as well, but they don't fit into the leader mindset, which is interesting. So they fit more into the thinker line mindset. And where does Silva go? Bernardo Silva goes in the hard worker mindset. They have different mindsets, but there might be somewhere else in the hierarchy. Now, looking at dynamics in the PC version, you can see here we've got team cohesion, atmosphere, managerial support. There's no principles. We have influential players. We have that hierarchy. It's displayed slightly differently. So they actually has the players' pictures across the screen. We have the social groups as well. I mean, this works when you're Manchester City, but if you're at a club where you don't have the faces in, I can see why they've chosen the other visual approach for the console. The social groups is not something you have on consoles. You have core social groups and how they interact with each other. So Julian Alvarez is not currently in any social group, and they're going to have a greater impact on each other. So if they're in the same social group, they're more likely to support each other when there are issues. All the player happiness, you can see here how happy the players are and how much their morale. So we got good morale on Calvin Phillips, which is surprising considering they never play him. Good morale on Ortega, good morale on Grealish. But yeah, you can see how happy the players are. Code of conduct is something I haven't actually set it yet in game, but you can set, what the disciplinary measures are. I can hold a team meeting here in the PC version, so I can speak to my players and tell them. I mean, I'll go, okay, this one is the starter game one. I think we can win the Premier League and we can win the Champions League because we're Manchester City. So I'm just going to tell them all that. We're going to win the FA Cup as well, and they're happy. But of course, and you can make promises as well. But of course, they might not be happy with everything if you overpromise or underpromise on the PC version. And you can look at your feedback. Apparently, we've got really good morale right now in the team talk feedback. Okay, back across in the console version. Tactics. This is the same. You can do everything tactically you can do in the PC version here. The difference is on picking the team. If you want to auto pick on the PC version, you get slightly a few more options. If we go into the tactics here, you can see here I can pick more rotation, less rotation, different restrictions. But for the most part, I can also press pick role and duties, which I've never actually noticed that button before. But for the most part, you can choose here the same things. You can choose all of these different tactical tweaks, and it runs in pretty much the same match engine. You can also do the player instructions as well on the console version. If I show that to you on the console version, if I go into, for example, Phil Foden, click on him here, and I can add all of those same player instructions right here. So everything is there in terms of the standard tactics, and the same. This is the screen for the player instructions. It's the same on both versions. Set pieces is ever so slightly different. So there's obviously the new set piece designer. If I just take it away from the assistant manager here, so you're going to get this same, preference thing that you're going to set up. So I'm just going to click on some of them. He's just going to load in what he thinks we should do. But now you'll notice I can't make further changes. So I can set the overall preference, but I can't move which players are where. On the PC version, have exactly the same setup. If we just chuck it in, Carlos Vicens is gonna, we've got a different set piece coach there. Gonna set it up, but this time I can move things around. So let's say I want one less player in the box and I want them to go to edge of area, or I want one less player, or one I'll put as a tracker. So we can do that, or an attack as well. I can change it on attack. I want to move an extra player into the box. I can do that. I want to move every player in the box. I can do that if I wanted. So there are different things you can move around here. You can also set who you'd prefer your corner takers are. You can set the hierarchy of each of these positions as well. So you can change who are your aerial threats, the order of them, the box threats, the creators, and the coverage. So on the console, it's going to choose those for you. On the PC, you can just, micromanage that a little bit yourself. Penalty takers, you can set the same on both versions. Same with captains, and same with match plans. I don't see many people ever use match plans, normally because people like to make their own tweaks in the game, but those are also there in both versions. Now, one thing you do get in the PC version, you don't get in the console version, are these opposition instructions. So depending on, I haven't actually got a match coming up. Oh, I do camo layered, but it's not letting me set them right now. But generally, you can set the type marking, tackling, show onto foot, all these things in here. Against the opposition, or against opposition positions as well. So these are things that you can't do in the console version. Data Hub is not going to show up until a few weeks into the season, but it's pretty much you get the same information. There's a little bit extra on the PC version. You get one extra tab, which is this previous meetings tab, so you can see where these teams have played for. Obviously, we've never played Chem or Laird before, but yeah, you could just get a little bit of extra information on previous meetings there. But everything else on the Data Hub is pretty similar. Staff is one area, I'm on the PC version still here, where you will see a bit of a difference. So you can hire all your individual coaches on PC. You can hire all your individual scouts. Look at how many spaces have Man City got for scouts there. And medical staff, you can hire them all. You can also hire them for the under 21s and for the under 18s as well. So you can hire in all the staff that you want. You can place the jobs for them. You can set their responsibilities in here as well. So let's say you want the staff to do certain things. You can delegate those out and confirm them. You can search for the staff. You've got the job center and the job security as well. So these are extra things that we don't see in the console. So all this, you can see the coaching team attributes here. I won't be able to see that in the console version. I'll just go ahead and show you that in the console version. So staff is one of the areas that's very much delegated in the console version. You don't really have control over it. So you'll see we have a scout, we have a head of youth development, we have an assistant manager, we have a physio, but that's it. We don't have more coaches, we don't have more people. We can do responsibilities, but there's less that we can do, so we can sort of delegate some of these things out, but we can't micromanage everything and delegate out everything. The job center and job security is still there, but generally you just have your staff here. Training on the console version, new this year, they've finally added in training. Now it is not as in-depth as the PC version, but it is now there. If I go to them, if I switch it up to manager and choose next week, I can change what kind of training profile we have across the whole week. So I can't change the individual day. I can't change Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday at all, but I can set the whole week to be managing defending next week. So next week we're going to manage defending, and you can see how the players are getting on. You can assign this to your assistant manager as well. I'll show that to you how that looks on the PC version. So on the PC, of course, I can go in and I often just delegate this though. So this is an area that a lot of console players I see ask for in my comments, And it's something that most of the PC players actually don't do themselves anyway. They often just leave it to their assistant and leave with the default. It's a lot of micromanaging you have to do on the PC. So the fact that I think they found a nice middle ground where you're not micromanaging every little thing. You know, I can set in the set piece routines or whatever, but you can set up a general theme for what you would like to be trained. You see here, it's going to set out my calendar. I can set certain schedules on the PC. You can really micromanage it. You set units, match preparation. Mentoring is on both versions. So mentoring, I create the mentoring group. I'm just going to ask the assistant to do it for now, but it's just going to add a couple of people into a mentoring group. If I show you on the console version again, this one as well. Just again, if I ask the assistant to do it, he's created a mentoring group of Kevin De Bruyne, Alvarez, and Phil Foden. And I can add some more. I don't know why he's only added one, but normally it adds a couple more. But yes, you can set the same mentoring groups and they'll have the same impact. Kevin De Bruyne is going to be the one who impacts these two younger players generally. On the console version, you can assign players to different units. So an attacking unit, defending unit, goalkeeping unit. So where you want them to be training, which team they're going to be training as part of. Now, new in the console version this year, this is quite useful, is the individual training. Because you can now set, let's say I want to retrain Laporte as a fullback. I can do that. Inverted fullback on defend. Obviously, he's not Man City now, is he? I can train him as an inverted fullback at defend. And he's going to start to train that position. I can set him an additional focus. This is in the PC version as well, but it is new this year in the console one. I can set the intensity. And I can set, maybe I want him to do a particular trait. So maybe I want him to not play through balls. I can set all these things onto him there. And we'll see how he gets on over time. So it's not going to happen overnight, but he's going to start to train towards those positions. That's useful if you need to retrain players in different positions. You've bought a good player, but you want them to fit into your tactic and you need them to play a slightly different role. You can do all that here. So there's that individual training on the PC version. Obviously, the way it looks is slightly different, but it's doing exactly the same thing. I can set all these certain things, the intensity. I can set weaker foot training. I can set the additional focus. I actually can't see the player trait. You talk about them with the player trait. So you have a chat with your coach and you suggest to your coach what you would like your player to train. So there's a little bit more of staff interaction there. But for the most part, it's the same. You can also suggest resting your players on the PC version, which can be quite handy if you have a very full schedule. And you can assign your coaches, of course, because you don't really have the coaches in the console one. It's not going to be there. But if you want, let's say yourself, to be, I don't know, doing these certain things because you're good at these and you want this guy to do, you can just move them around, see who's doing what. Often you just press ask assistant and it'll give you the optimal. But if you want to change it, you're always welcome to change it. Schedule's slightly different. You don't get the calendar in the same way on the console version, but you get your fixture list. You don't have an event screen and you don't have a reminder screen where you set yourself reminders. But for the most part, this is the same. I'll just show it to you on the console. Here you go. Here's the fixture list. Now the calendar, there is the calendar up at the top here. If you click it, you'll get this sort of drop down calendar and you press it. There is actually a calendar screen. So that's there on the all, but you won't get the two more specific calendars for events and any reminders you set for yourself. Your competition screen on the console is going to set out all the competitions you're in and how they are progressing. And it's exactly the same on the PC. Now in console, for transfers, you just have one segment called recruitment, which is a little bit different. So you can create your recruitment focuses. So again, this is often something that people delegate out to their staff, but you can do it yourself. So you can create recruitment focuses about what kind of player you want and what position, what scope, what attributes. You can add all the little bits and your scouts are going to go out and look for them. You can set a recruitment focus for a certain type of player. You can do the player search. You can search for any of these players. It's a little bit more fiddly if you do it with the controller, but this is exactly the same as on the PC. You can just go in and select all the things you want. You can add all the same conditions as well. So everything is there for searching for the players. You can have your shortlist. You have your ongoing transfer negotiations is shown on a screen here. So the in, out, what's already happening. Any clauses, you can of course sell off some clauses or buy in any clauses if you want. You can search for staff here. So if you want to replace any staff, this is the screen you want to do it. So let's say you need a new scout. You can go to Abbott and you can go to contract offer and you can just offer him the position. So there is a way to get new staff in. You can set your director of football to try and get players, and you've got your transfer history screen here as well. On the PC version, obviously staff was up in the staff tab, and your transfer center is actually its own section on the left here. Same with director football, the clauses and the transfer history. So it's all in one section on the console, but it's there, like it's all there. Then you've got your overview. Now the scouting is slightly different on the PC. At the minute, we've got a different person doing the scouting, and you're going to get sent scout reports the same as on the console. If I can set my focuses here, it's just a little less, sorry, a little more in depth. I can choose what my scouting range is, and that's going to cost me some money. I can set the recruitment focuses, and that you can set something. This is pretty much the same, to be honest, this recruitment focus. But there are slightly more things you can do. The scouting range, for example, and the scouting coverage differs as well. So you've got your scouting coverage based on the scouting staff that you have. You can also set your scouts out to do match and team analysis of other teams. But now this is pretty close between the two versions. Club information, I'm back on the console version. Obviously you get some basic information, affiliated clubs, and just general history stuff. Just nice little bits of information about the club. And here on the PC, you've got, again, the same bits. You've got a news tab in this club info, so any news specific to the club. You've got a facilities tab, which you don't have on the console. So you do have extra facilities and things that can tell you about your training. You know, you've got your capacity, your rent, etc. Bit of information about the club. But otherwise, this is almost all there. There's a little bit extra stuff in the history there, I think. Your club vision, this is what the board has set you and what they're expecting you to do. And you can check your performances towards each of those metrics. On the PC, so you've also got the supporters profile here and the supporter feedback. So you've got to keep the supporters happy, and you can check that supporter profile. So a little bit more in depth. You can't really change any of that, but it is that little bit of extra information. On the console version, just over here, you'll see we've got the same kind of club vision, the same rating as a manager performance. Now, requests are slightly different. On that PC version, if you want to make a request, in fact, I'll just show you. If you want to make a request on that PC version, on this screen here, you can make a board request, and they're all here. Facilities, finance, networking, personal, and staff. On the console version, your board request is its own tab. This is newly added in. You'll see there are not as many requests that you can make. They're going to be club dependent as well. Obviously, I can't request a new stadium if I am Manchester City. There is nothing there about networking. There is nothing there about staff. Sometimes these things will show up, but some of them also won't be in the game. So it's unlikely to be the staff ones in the game. So just the transfer budget, wage budget, and you make the request. Now you can do something here which you can't do in the PC one, which is set the priority for them. So I can set something as a high priority, and they will keep making this. You give them a reason as well, which is interesting. So you say, I want more money to improve the results on the pitch, send the request, and they will actively look at that request every month, and I can send in another request, a normal, let's say I set this one to normal, give me reason 2, and they will look at that one. They'll get back to me on that one probably straight away. This is the finances screen. You can obviously adjust your budget. You can make those board requests to just take you back to that other screen. You can look at your income, expenditure, debts, and sponsorships on the console version. On the PC version, you can't do much here, but there is a little bit of extra information. So you've got projections, and you also have FFP. You don't have to worry so much about FFP. I don't think FFP is there in the console version, so you don't have to worry about FFP. You can also see things like your code of conduct, your salary commitments, but it's pretty similar. It's just extra data available. Finally, the dev center, and this is one of the areas where it's actually a little bit more in depth on the PC. This is your dev center. You don't have your under 18s or under 21 teams necessarily. You've got your youth candidates, you've got your reserve team, and that's it. So there's not like the under 21s and etc. are not playing. But if you can do the same thing, you go and look at your players. You want to move Rico Lewis to the main team, you can move him like he has in real life. You want to move Shea Charles, actually he's gone on loan to Southampton. You can move him. Cole Palmer, you want to sell him, you can sell him to Manchester City. You can offer via transfer room, which is like on the PC version. But yeah, you can just go in and check your dev center there. And here it is on the PC. You can see, of course, you've got under 18s and under 21s team with their own staff. All the players are there. So there's actually a few more players in there. You can also check the staff that you have for both of them, the loans that you have out, but like it's lots of extra information. You can check how they're training. You can check the tactics that those teams are using if you want them to use the same tactics as you're using. You can check the dynamics within those teams. You can check all these small little things that are just not there in the console version. Now there's a few additional things that I wanted to show because they're not shown via looking through those screens. The first is transfers. So on transfers, if I'm on the console version, I can offer via transfer room. I can also have but I can't hire an intermediary, which is one of the new features this year over on the PC version. If I want to sell Bernardo Silva, I can hire an intermediary to sell. I can talk to the agent as well. In fact, if I want to renew his contract, one of the things I should be doing is talking to the agent. If I want to buy a player equally, one of the things I need to do is talk to a player's agent. So let's choose Andre Santos. I ask the agent about availability and we have a little chat, and then we go in and we ask the club. We don't have that in the console version. So there's no agents in the console version, you're just dealing directly with the players. A bit more streamlined. Everyone hates the agents anyway. So if I go in, you know, Zhao Cancelo, for example, and I just straight up can offer him a new contract, or if we go into recruitment, let's say Victor Osimhen transfer, and I just straight up make an offer. I don't have to speak to his agent first. I mean, the agents are there, but they're just not, you know, you're just not dealing with them directly. So that's one small change between the two versions. Another one is actually speaking with your players. So if on the PC version I want to speak to a player, if I go to my squad and let's say Bernardo Silva, I can have interaction and I can speak about and I can advise him on certain things. I can praise him, I can warn him before and after games as well. So this is something you can also do before and after games, or when the training report comes in, you can also tell them. And you can set targets this year. So let's say Phil Foden, and I want to speak to him about, I don't know, let's praise the player. I'm pleased. Like maybe if when the training report comes in, I'll be able to set him a target, or if I loan a player out, I can set a loan target on them. I don't know if I can do that right now. Can't do it right now, but there are little things like that you can do to in communicating with your players. Now there is communication with the players this year in the console version. I'll see if I can get one to trigger. It might take a little while. Let's see if we can get one to trigger. Oh, one thing I've nearly forgot. You have this option. It is available on PC, but you have to use a skin, which is instant results. So let's say I instant result this Porto match. I need to get rid of Jack Grealish first. Let's say I instant result this Porto match. It's just going to play with my match plan, and it will just tell me the result afterwards. And I can do that for any match on the console version. You can also, if you're halfway through the match and let's say you're 3-0 up and you think you're going to win, you can just leave the match as well. One of the things I didn't show you actually is these in-game things that you can unlock. So there's no in-game editor, of course, in the console version, but you can unlock these. Now, you will notice there's a little price underneath. 98p is a very weird price. But if you go to unlockables, you can unlock these ones. You unlock this by significantly increasing club stature, moving 10 client times in a single career. So if you complete these things, then you will unlock all of these things. Now, some of these you can fast run. Some of these you have to buy. So the board override, dream transfer, etc. Attribute masking as well. You can just unlock that. That's available already. But yeah, there's all sorts of ones that are available. Oh, I think I've unlocked that one actually. I don't know how I unlocked that one. But yeah, you can unlock these, but some of them, you know, you do have to purchase little microtransactions. But they're just they're cheats really. So it's not like they've taken away elements of the game. Now I can't get one of these conversations to trigger now because they're contextual. They show up as an inbox item when a player is struggling. And we might be that we don't get one. One did show up when I did the quick look for the console version in the console version. So if you want to have a look at what they look like, it basically asked me to a player wasn't buying into the club philosophy, so I had to say whether I had to either talk to them or another achievement. I had to either talk to them or I had to discipline them. And I chose to spoke to them, and it gave me a certain outcome. And the players were happy on the back of it. We'll see if we get one after this game, perhaps. We lost the Community Shield on penalties. Let's see if we get one. We'll go to the next game. If we haven't got one by then, you'll just have to check it in the other video. Oh, here we go. We got one. Yes, Bernardo Silva is lacking buy-in. So I'm given an option here. This is not in the PC version, by the way. I'm given an option here of either talking to him or demoting him. So I think I'm going to talk to him, convince him to buy into my methods. So he's gained a bit of buy-in the last 30 days, but he's still reserving judgment. Let's talk to him. We chose to speak to him and his supporters to gain buy-in, and his supporters gain buy-in. So yeah, looks like it worked. So we press continue. So you do have these little conversations with players. It's very, very simple, but it's just like a nice little streamlined version of the game. And one thing I've not shown you, in fact, is the match engine and the in-game controls and everything, because they are the same. It looks a little bit different, obviously, when you're playing on console with the layout, but otherwise it's all exactly the same. But those are the main differences between the console version and the regular PC version. I might have missed some. I'm sorry if I did. Let me know if there's something I missed down in the comments below. But hopefully that gives you a good idea of how close and how different the game is and sort of where it's more streamlined. I quite like the way that they make that console version a little bit more simpler to run. A lot of that stuff are things that people who play on PC are things that they turn off anyway. No, most people don't bother with the training. Most people don't micromanage their scouts. So these kind of small little things are things that if they change it, I do really like that club principles and philosophy that they've added to the console version this year. That seems like a nice, fun dynamic, and I wouldn't be surprised if they add that in on the PC in a couple of years. Also, the challenges on console are fun as well. So those are all things to bear in mind if you're thinking of getting the console version, or if you think think you might want the PC version instead, what level of depth, what level of realism you would like, what you would actually want to get out of the game. Now, I've got a whole load of videos on the FM console version and on FM24, so make sure you go check out some of the videos in this playlist there if you want to find out more about FM console.